Hello, my name is Glenn Klassen, and I'm the author of Evansing, Heart of the Irish Kingdom, which is a historical fantasy novel based in 11th century Ireland. In this book, I entertain and I teach life lessons through the use of story. Stay tuned for a specific action step to help move you along toward a new prosperous life. Now I'm going to read portions of my book. However, before I do so, I do want to give you a brief introduction about Edmund the hero. He was orphaned as a child, actually he was an infant, and he was taken in by his uncle, who was a rather harsh man. And in fact, he brought Edwin along with him on raiding parties when Edwin was still just a young teenager. This resulted in a lot of emotional wounds for Edwin. As you can imagine, it was a very difficult childhood. One morning, after a particularly fitful night's sleep and almost non-stop nightmares, Edwin decided he needed to do something different. As hard as it was to imagine life being any different or somehow better than now, he determined he had to at least try. Edwin then recalled not only were there nightmares, but also pleasant dreams. But he couldn't remember any details. As he considered this, the thought came to him to go to the local monastery. He didn't have any connection with the monks or the people of the church, as his uncle had said it was a waste of time. However, something inside said he had a chance for change by going to the monastery and asking for help. He knew the priests were called father, and deep inside he wanted a father, someone who would nurture and nourish the little boy inside him. He desperately wanted to be loved and even celebrated just for being alive. Don't we all? We all want to be celebrated. These thoughts and feelings were very strange for Edwin. He didn't know where they came from, but he decided to go with them and see what happened. It couldn't be any worse than where he was now, which felt desperate and painful. He knew there had to be something better than this. His only other option was to keep going on more and more dangerous raiding parties until he got killed or captured. The reason I read this is because we have an example of awareness. Awareness is a very essential quality in life. And we see how Edwin responded when he started thinking about pleasant dreams. Couldn't remember the details, but he just started considering it. And as he was considering these possibility of pleasant dreams, he started getting other thoughts that he did not have before. And he pondered them, he considered them. He started to get some specific insights. He's starting to get some thoughts about other options in his life. And that's what, awareness is most useful for, of course, is that it gives us new opportunities to think differently and to be aware there's other ways of doing life. As Edwin lay on his bed of straw contemplating these things, a gray thrush with brown specks on its body came into his hut. The bird seemed not to be afraid at all of Edwin, but rather curious and even friendly in his demeanor. Fascinated, Edwin watched the bird and threw it some breadcrumbs. The bird pecked away at the bread and chirped in gratitude. Something in Edwin switched on as he experienced warmth in his heart he had not felt for a long, long time. An emotional shift occurred inside him as he realized his act of kindness toward the bird had done something in him as well. He threw the bird some more crumbs, and again the bird chirped a happy song of gratitude. The warmth in Edwin's heart became more intense. It startled him, for it was so foreign. Then the bird came closer to Edwin. As Edwin slowly extended out his right forefinger to the bird stopped and watched in silence. Then it hopped several times and landed on the outstretched symbol of friendship. Edwin had made a friend, his first true friend in many years. Edwin noticed hot tears rolling down his cheeks. This was strange, for warriors do not cry, and Edwin was in many ways a consummate warrior. The bird remained on his finger with his head bent up, looking into Edwin's eyes. He seemed to relax and quite enjoyed being on this unusual perch. Then something unexpected happened. The bird spoke, or at least it seemed he spoke. Edwin started to get thoughts in his head as though the bird was indeed communicating with his mind. Now, in that time of Irish history, there were often tales of spirits inhabiting animals and communicating to people. This was different, though. This bird was talking to Edwin and not to someone else. It didn't seem to be a spirit, and certainly not a malevolent spirit. How would he know the difference? Edwin thought to himself. He didn't, except he had this inner knowing. The bird was telling him his thoughts of going to the monastery were good, and he was to ask for a particular monk called Percival. As Edwin pondered what was going on, he started to experience something else he had not felt before. He believed it must be what is known as hope. As he considered this new hope growing in him, the bird seemed to say goodbye and flitted away through the opening in the door. At first, Edwin felt a twinge of regret about the abrupt departure. However, he knew what had happened was good, indeed very good. Edwin gathered his paltry belongings. The nearest monastery was almost 15 miles away. He went with a spring in his step and an expectancy of something very different but good waiting for him there. Hope makes us expectant. Edwin started on his way with the wind behind him and the sun in his face. It was one of those rare Irish mornings which had more sun than cloud. It seemed to Edwin like even the weather was cheering him on in his decision to change his life. So this is the novel I was reading from. And now I have that specific action step. But before I do that, actually, I would like to just make some extra comments about what I read here. With respect to this last passage, last part, we see where hope got stimulated in Edwin. Before this time, hope was not something he was familiar with. And so this was a new feeling, a feeling that it comes, hand in glove with awareness. And it came because he was pondering and considering more and more deeply what was going on. He took time to look at this bird, hear these thoughts that were coming to him, ponder them, consider them. And he received confirmation of what his earlier awareness had given him. So it's very important, if we want to get the best benefit from awareness and hope, is to ponder, consider the thoughts and the possibilities that they're giving us. Now for that specific action step. I'm going to just read over you this blessing. May you be open to receive divine messages, infusing you with awareness, leading to hope and the courage to act so as to move you toward a new prosperous life. I hope you'll also like this video, comment on it, and share it. As well, I'd like to go visit my website at gleneclawson.com and my Facebook page at Glenn Clawson Facebook. Thank you.